Hey everybody, and welcome to Clandestine Cabal Low Tech. This is done from a webcam on my computer in my apartment, but the quality is still good. The quality of the reviews is still good.
Of course.
Anyway, we
got the two best people here too.
Oh, I'm sorry, Matt. Anyway, we have an exciting time in comics because we have got 3 awesome number ones for you, and it'll be followed by more videos with more number ones. But let's start off with this one, and the biggest release of this past week was Justice League number 1, the first issue of the new DC Universe, written by Jeff Johns and the art done by Jim Lee, so that's like a match made in heaven. This issue is really fun. For the most part, it's just a team up with Batman and Green Lantern. But Batman and Green Lantern, the characters are done so well, and they give each other crap because that's what they do. They're Batman and Green Lantern, and it's set in a world before it's set like 5 years in the past of the new DC universe, and none of the heroes have really gotten together before. I mean, at the beginning, Green Lantern meets Batman. And he's like, "Oh, you're more than just an urban legend." And basically it shows like their first team up and how they slowly meet all the other heroes as well.
Can I hold it now?
You can hold it.
Yes. Okay, so like my good friend here Jason said, this is Justice League number 1, first issue of the new DC Universe ever, by Jeff Johns and Jim Lee. I can't think of any better creative team to handle something like this. And we both like Green Lantern, and we both like Batman, and we both like Jeff Johns and Jim Lee. So there was really no way that we weren't going to like this issue. That aside, it was very... when you look at it one way, it was very by the numbers and kind of all expository dialogue and things like that. But that was the purpose of it, to set up this kind of, for lack of a better phrase, brave new world that we're in with the DC New. So
it's perfect for people who've never read a comic before, even if you don't even know who Batman is, despite the fact that that's impossible. That is impossible. It truly is. But you can go into a store, pick it up. It is in its 3rd printing now, I believe.
I think, yeah.
And it's tons of fun.
Yeah, don't miss it.
All right, our second number 1 is Ultimate Comics Hawkeye number 1 from the wonderful mind of Jonathan Hickman, who's been rocking in the Fantastic Four and Future Foundation lately. But Ultimate Hawkeye is the first of is a mini-series in the new wave of Ultimate stuff, kind of like a new start for the Ultimate Universe. So, hey, another universe starting. That's cool. And this focuses on Clint Barton, aka Hawkeye, recently featured in the Thor movie. And it's really cool because Jonathan Hickman's also writing Ultimates number 1, and this is kind of something that it's kind of elaborates more on what Clint Barton's doing. You see a little bit of it in Ultimates, but obviously there's more in here, and it's just really fun. The character is really fun, and you see this really awesome plan that's been noted earlier when I was first reading it. It's very similar to House of M, except kind of House of M combined with a good plot of X-Men The Last Stand. And it really is just fun to see Hawkeye, a guy who probably hasn't been showcased as much in either of the Marvel universes.
That's true.
But Ben's the real Jonathan Hickman fan, so I'm going to let him give his 5 cents worth on this.
So kind of like the same deal I said before with Jeff Johns. I read everything that Jonathan Hickman writes. I read FF. I'm in the middle of the Nightly News, which is his first big foray into comics.
Red Wing.
And I'm reading Red Wing right now, which if you haven't read any of those, I highly recommend that you pick them up. He's one of the most creative talents that we have in the comic industry right now.
One thing I've noticed that he does is he can take a simple dialogue and add so much detail to the world around it with just a few sentences.
Yeah, and he also has a really good sense of humor that he can just kind of inject in there amidst all the crazy technical detail that he can get into. So it's just a really interesting mishmash of stuff. But enough about. I can never talk enough about him. But for those of you who don't know about what the Ultimate Universe is, maybe it's kind of like the Marvel Universe, but if you took away like the 70 plus years of history from it, so that you can kind of jump in without knowing exactly everything that these characters have done, which I think is a good idea because I remember before I'd started comics, that's what held me off for a long time, is that I didn't know where to start. So if you're looking for a place to jump into comics, I highly recommend picking up Ultimates #1 and Ultimate Hawkeye, which unfortunately is only a miniseries. But they're both by the esteemed Jonathan Hickman, so give it a shot.
No pun intended, because he's an archer. And and also coming up in the Ultimate Universe is Ultimate Spider-Man #1 and Ultimate X-Men #1, both of which should be very interesting. But we're moving on to our last #1, and Joss Whedon fans get excited. It's Angel and Faith #1. Angel has returned to Dark Horse after Buffy Season 8, so this is kind of like the series that will run along with Buffy Season 9. And this focuses on, obviously, Angel and Faith. Angel dealing with all the crap that happened after the Twilight story, which shook him up pretty much, but this is a really good issue because it really gives him like a mission statement again. He has his purpose back, and also there are like points in this where you're like, really, can like any more bad stuff happen to Angel? But the thing that I find remarkable about his character is that like all the bad stuff that happens to him, especially like one instance in here that I don't want to spoil, but you really think like, despite all of the crap, he still keeps up the good fight, and that's probably the most admirable thing about him. I mean, he has to make up for so much, but he never stops in his quest for redemption.
All right, thank you. Okay, so I cannot begin. There we go. I cannot begin to express how excited I am to have read this, because as Jason knows, and as you all are about to know, Buffy the Vampire Slayer is my favorite show of all time.
Buffy!
Which by association means that Angel is pretty high up there too. And so he's one of my favorite characters, and I never really thought of it before, which kind of shames me now. But having a comic starring Angel and Faith together is brilliant. It's such a good combination. Some of Faith's best storylines were in Angel. So it just makes a lot of sense for them to be co-starring this book. So if you have been following Angel After the Fall, that was with IDW Publishing, not Dark Horse, which this is with now, and you've been reading Buffy Season 8, this is just perfect for you. You don't necessarily have to have read it because it only kind of tangentially references it, but it's nice to have that knowledge going in. Anyway, good, very solid book. I can't say anything else to recommend it. So
one thing I will say about the Angel and Faith combo is like Faith kind of keeps Angel on track with like his whole helping the helpless, but in response, Angel kind of brings out the best parts of Faith. So it's really awesome. Also, if you're just into supernatural stuff in general, also a really good book, and a nice lead into Buffy Season 9 soon, so yay! Anyway, but that's all we've got for this episode, but stay tuned for more from Clandestine Cabal.